This is a book series that was written about abuse, particularly. Have a main character who talks about how he never had any friends before he got to camp. If you then have that main character making community for himself and having friends for the first time in his life is actually really dangerous, because he might actually kill all the people that he loves. What message are you sending to children who are in that position in their life that are watching this show?
I have to say this season for like big time made me go, I feel like there are writers in that writer's room. They're writing for a kids show. And when I say a kids show, I mean quotation marks. They're writing for kids. Exactly. And that they're not like thinking the fact that so much about this series has many layers and subtext to it that kids get, because kids are in those situations, even if they can't actually talk about it.
It's between saving you or saving Olympus. Annabeth, I burn it all down. Just like Luke said to Hollywood.
If you're talking about the Great Prophecy, that's 3 years away.
I do think that it is reasonable for Percy to be concerned about what, the things he has in common with Luke, what that may say about him. Because I think it's, it, like it's reasonable for a kid with a lot of power to be scared of being a bad person, since all the people who have had power in his life were bad people.
But I also think it's like there's a reason it's like a fatal flaw. I think it can make you strong, but at the same time, like that's what's gonna kill you someday, And I think what scares Percy is that it's not just that he knows it's gonna kill him. Like I think in the position that he's in, his fatal flaw could be fatal to everyone, like everyone around him. So I think it's like that's what kind of makes him scared. But at the same time, he's like, it could also mean that I save everyone and die.
There are ways that you could have explored. Like I said, like Luke is really a really good allegory for a school shooter, and a kid that decides to make the wrong choice goes through a lot of the same type of things that Percy goes through, but Percy chooses to be even more thoughtful and caring about people and about taking care of people and not hurting people. And Luke goes the opposite way of like, I'm gonna care only about me and the people I care about, and I will sacrifice everybody else in order to get that and ensure it. And I think that it was definitely a better, more nuanced way to explore how those similarities between Percy and Luke could be seen as a possible flaw. This is a problem that it goes way beyond Percy Jackson, the TV show. It is a trend in media right now. And
Oh yeah.
and you can see it. So we talked about Spike and Buffy, right? Version of that would be Loki in the MCU. And so what you'll see often, and is happening more and more because of those things, that have come before, that awareness of fandom and fan favorite characters becomes part of the marketing. And I definitely see antagonist with a tragic backstory is absolutely a marketing ploy. And I can see them in the writer's room pitching that we need to make him a little more nuanced, a little grayer, so that and I hate to say this, but it's true. Again, where I think the show is being written by people who think it's a kids show, it's for kids, is the kind of boy bandification of the lineup of characters, is that they're thinking of there is not well, who do we have for the girls that don't like Percy, that aren't going to have a crush on Percy? Who do we give them?
Yeah.
Who's the character? We need a bad boy to appeal to
Oh,
those
God.
girls that want a bad. That's exact right. Look, rewatch it all, and you see he's a bad boy. We need to like kind of build up this possible love triangle.
It's gotta
I'm
be.
no, I'm you can't. You know what? I'm biased. I'm sorry. I'm biased. I'm a Luke apologist.
But everything he says is like, it is true. Like,
yeah, like he's not.
he never lies.
He doesn't
No,
lie.
no, I'm not. No, I'm not just telling you straight up.
As soon as he carried
Yeah.
Annabeth away, I was like, oh damn it, this is this generation's
Yeah.
Raylo.
I hate it.
I hate this so much, and it is so engineered too.
Mhm.
And that's why I think it's really like I've seen a lot of, it's popped up on my TikTok timeline where I've
Mhm.
seen people who, are trying to woobify, which is the old fandom name for it, Luke into like this, like, oh, but he's complicated and he's in a situation and he's over.
We talk about trauma, and we want people, kids especially, who read these books. We want them to like understand what these things are, like what's really going on, in an easy and accessible way. And like what you were saying before about the writer's room, like almost like writing down like what they think kids can like pick up. Kids are, we know for sure they can pick this stuff up because they've been
Yes.
in our comment sections for 2 years now, and it saying like, I am that person in my family. Oh my God, what do I do now? I understand conceptually why the TV show does certain things, but because it's a TV show. I can grasp that concept, but these kids exist. They're in my DMs. They're watching our videos. They're in our comment sections. They're there. We can't pretend like they're not there. People that talked to me after the season was over, and they said that they were really disappointed to see them, making Luke a sad boy emo child, and knowing that that's what they were going to do with him now.
Luke thinks he's doing the right thing. I've seen a couple of press interviews where people, I think we're in the writer's room going, well, he thinks he's doing the right thing. I'm like, you guys sound like Killmonger was right, people, right? Like, right? And I'm like, that's a great comparison, is that, okay, and if Luke thinks he's doing the right thing, what is good about slaughtering children? Like, if he really cared about, like, if he really thought what he was doing was right, he would create a situation where he could talk to each one of the kids and try to convince them to come to his side, right? But he doesn't. He comes in with big guns and, like, I mean, honestly, the ancient Greek versions of like super soldiers to slaughter these children.
Most of the abuse survivors that you would think we would be the most like cynical people were the ones that are like, no, what Luke is doing is always wrong, because if you're killing children to get what you want, then you don't deserve it.
I'm just wrong about everything. Huh? No matter what I say.
There are still scenes in the show right now that you can take and say, this is him grooming Annabeth. And even if the show doesn't like set out to do that, or it doesn't want you necessarily to think that, you have a brain and you can think for yourself. If you have had that happen to you, or a friend had that happen to them, or you've just like heard a story that affected you a lot and you want to use that as an example, you can, and there's nothing they can do to stop you. The thing that's hard with this stuff is I feel like when things like that happen with him, or with Bucky Barnes, or with Percy Jackson, or even like basically everything that I've ever loved, like how Star Wars dealt with stuff, how even BBC Sherlock dealt with stuff, Doctor Who, Skins, every Harry Potter, everything that I can ever remember loving. There's only so many times you can watch things and realize at a certain point that you are not the target audience. And not only are you not the target audience, the people who made the show don't even acknowledge that you exist. And I'm just really tired of that, especially when our trauma is used as entertainment, but it will not be used for people like us to feel included. It's used to be like entertaining, but not to do anything to actually make us feel understood. And I'm just tired. I'm so tired of that. And it, I don't know. It's just, I'm so tired of every single thing that I like being told at a certain point that they did not think that I would like this thing and they don't care if I do. And it's not like a personal thing. Like, they don't know me personally, but it feels like it when you're watching something and you just realize, like, you don't care about me at all, because if you did, you wouldn't do these things in this way.
Side of the perfect victim fallacy is that when someone is proved to be a victim, especially if he's a white guy, then he is perfect and we cannot criticize him. And that is what is at play with a lot of characters like Luke, like Kylo Ren, of this, oh, well, he had a rough life, so he's a victim. We can't criticize him. He's perfect. Everything that he does, even if it's bad, it's perfect. We can't criticize him because bad things happen to him. And it's interesting how gendered that is applied, because the girl she has to be perfect in order to be seen as a victim, and the boy is perfect because he was a victim.
I don't think you heard me. I don't think you guys are hearing me when I say that Percy Jackson and Luke Castellan are the greatest hero and villain foils ever written.
Great example in comparison between Percy and Luke is that Luke sees the path to if you want me to believe that he thinks he's doing the right thing, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Well, the way that he goes about it is to seek out power, while Percy creates community.
Yes.
That's actually, that's even in the show. You see him time and again. Percy reaches out to people, even people that he's convinced don't like him. I mean, they don't like him, but but he still tries to build bridges with people. He reaches out to them. He shows his little, his awesome St. Crispin Day speech to the campers to get them riled up and ready to go was not about, I need you to do this, or I need an army. It's about, we can do this. It was about building them up and reaching out and creating community. And I think it's really fascinating, like a great comparison too, is that camp is an artificial community that's created by the rules of this world and the society of this world. But it's Percy and the way that he builds community and friendship with the other campers that actually creates what is an actual community, that in his way is revolutionary and defies a lot of the boundaries that the gods create between their children. And that was the thing I was thinking about, was especially in season 2, but the only time he ever competes, he's really either just kind of forced into doing it, or is doing it because he needs to get through the competition thing to get the thing to do the thing that needs to help people. But he doesn't fall into the games of camp that's all about competition, about pitting them against each other, which is very classic, right? He is about okay, yeah, whatever, I'll do the thing, but we the whole thing is, I got to do the thing to save us all.
It's just us. There is no bigger hero or divine intervention to come to our rescue.
A lot of Luke slander over this time, and so let me go. Okay, so I don't think all of it is because he's attractive and because he's a sad boy and misogyny, although I do think it plays a big part. But I also think that there is an aspect of, to be fair, some survivors who have not gotten past their anger, and Luke represents a type of unfettered anger at the things that were done to you, and the desire for catharsis that is violent. And I think that it's really difficult for us, and mean by like the royal us of society, to discuss how much of what we're taught about catharsis and feeling justified
Makes me sad that people think that Percy is dark because he's angry. And I was like, boys can be angry. Young boys can be angry without you pathologizing their feelings and turning them into a villain. Young boys need to know that they can be angry without turning into a monster. And Percy is a great example of that because he has every right to be angry. The things that he is angry about, he should be feeling angry. There is nothing in this season that happens where if he's sitting there calm and rational when he thinks that Annabeth is about to die, and the person that he thinks is going to kill her is the only person he can talk to try to save her life, he should be angry. He should be angry at these things. That is a valid thing to be feeling, but people associate boys being angry with being dangerous and bad and villainous. And that's kind of how I feel like when people react to me when I'm angry, they react like I'm trying to kill them because they're not used to somebody just expressing how they feel without being like trying to threaten you somehow. That's like a lot of where like Luke stuff comes from. People only picture that sort of anger that is completely out of control and destructive. And it's so hard to try to talk to survivors that are going through that and have them understand, like, you are not a bad person because you're angry.
Part of that component of Luke's anger and the way that people are able to empathize with his anger, but they see it as dark when it comes to Percy, is first off, anger and violence are the only types of emotion that boys are allowed to experience. Like a way to deconstruct this that might be helpful for kids who are seeing this and are trying to figure out how to approach how to deal with their anger is to understand that anger is just a form of fear. 100%. Whenever anybody is angry, they're afraid. And so if you look at Luke, when he's afraid, he reaches for something powerful. He reaches for the biggest weapon to protect himself.
Yeah.
When Percy's afraid, is he reaches out to his friends and his family and holds their hands. Like, I mean, symbolically, but he reaches out for comfort and for other people and community, and that one is the healthier option.
Luke is afraid that they're right about what he's saying about Thalia, like that Thalia wouldn't take his side. So he shows up at camp to wipe everybody out so that nobody else is there if Thalia does come back. And the Percy version is when he's on Cersei's island, he's absolutely terrified that he's going to hurt his friends and hurt Annabeth. And so he's literally running away from her and telling her, leave me alone, stop talking to me. I'll just stay on this island forever and never leave because I don't want to hurt anybody. And I would rather spend the rest of my life alone if it meant that everybody that I loved would be safe. And that's just polar opposite reactions to the same thing. Anger is always a secondary emotion. You might hear life coaches that don't know what they're talking about say that. But what that actually means is that when you're feeling anger, you're feeling a more painful emotion, but it's anger that comes out. When I'm angry about things that people say about sex abuse victims, I'm extremely hurt by what they have said. But it's anger that comes out because that's an easier way for me to deal with it because I don't want to cry on camera. And nobody wants to see me crying all the time. And so I cry later. I'm angry online and then cry about it later on. And that's the only way I know how to deal with that. And so anger is always something like that. There's always something more painful that is harder to deal with. Anger is easily to access.
And honestly, go for the parallel of the manosphere even more, right? Like I feel like if he is such a wonderful fruitful like example of incel type of dudes, school shooter type of dudes, then show us the guy that gets them there. Show us that dude that goes to those message boards, that tells these guys, it's not you, it's those girls.
Luke at this point is like a school shooter, but the show is trying to tell us that he's a revolutionary that's necessary to move society forward. School shootings are not necessary to move society forward. They don't move society forward, they kill children. They don't. And so that alone, I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I generally don't know what they're doing. I have no idea.